Something is changing in Green Bay, and nobody wants to say it out loud. For years, the Packers were built on stability, a franchise that never truly collapsed, no matter who left, no matter what changed. But right now, it feels different. Because for the first time in a long time, the question isn't how good are the Packers. The question is this the beginning of the end of an era? The Packers are entering a phase that every legendary NFL team fears, rebuild, without admitting it's a rebuild. On paper, nothing looks completely broken, but if you look closer, the cracks are everywhere. Key veterans are aging out, young players are still unproven, chemistry is inconsistent, and pressure is building faster than results. This is the dangerous zone in the NFL, where a team looks almost good but never actually gets there. And Green Bay is standing right in that zone. Fans still believe, the media still gives them respect, but inside the building, there's a different feeling. Uncertainty. For decades, the Packers had an identity, a franchise QB era elite decision making at the top, smart drafting stability when others collapsed, but now, because the biggest problem isn't talent, it's direction. One side of the team is trying to compete right now, the other side is clearly built for the future. And when those two visions collide, teams don't rise, they stall. You can already see it in games, drives that start strong, then collapse, defensive stops, followed by instant breakdowns, moments of brilliance, followed by confusion. It's not consistent football. It's emotional football. And emotional football doesn't win championships. Every NFL season has a breaking point. And for the Packers, that point is getting closer. Because expectations don't disappear just because a team is transitioning. Green Bay is still judged like a contender, but the performance doesn't always match that label. And that gap, that's where pressure becomes dangerous. Inside the locker room, it's not just about plays anymore. It's about proving who belongs, who can handle the moment, who is part of the future, and who isn't. And when that question starts getting asked, everything changes. Because players stop playing free. They start playing afraid of mistakes. There's always a turning point in a season. Sometimes it's an injury. Sometimes it's a blown lead. Sometimes it's just one game where everything falls apart. For the Packers, that moment feels like it's building in slow motion. Not loud, not dramatic, just inevitable. You can feel it in close games, when the margin for error disappears, when one mistake changes everything. And when that happens enough times, a team starts to believe something dangerous. Maybe we're not who we thought we were. And that's where the real story begins. Because if this season continues down this path, the Green Bay Packers won't just be dealing with losses. They'll be dealing with something much bigger. A full identity collapse, a changing locker room, and possibly the end of a core era in franchise history. But what's coming next is even more intense, because behind the scenes, decisions are being made right now that could completely reshape this team forever, and not everyone is going to survive it. Something is breaking in Green Bay, not on the scoreboard, not in the standings, but somewhere far more dangerous, inside the locker room. Because when a team stops believing in the same future, it doesn't collapse overnight. It fractures. And right now, the Packers are starting to fracture in ways fans don't see. Every NFL team has tension. But in Green Bay right now, it feels different. It feels silent, but heavy. There's a growing divide between two groups, players who believe the window is still open, and players who already feel the next era has started. And when that happens in football, communication breaks down first. Then trust. Then execution. That's exactly what's starting to show up on the field. Routes are slightly off, timing is inconsistent, and small mistakes are becoming repeated patterns. Not because players aren't talented, but because they're not fully aligned anymore. Behind every struggling NFL team, there's always a coaching staff trying to hold everything together. And in Green Bay, that pressure is escalating fast. Because every decision now carries weight, play calling gets questioned, rotations get debated, young players get pushed before they're ready, veterans get limited in key moments. And when coaching starts feeling reactive instead of controlled, teams lose identity even faster. There's a difference between adjusting and scrambling. Right now, Green Bay looks like it's doing both. And that's dangerous. Because once a team starts reacting to every problem instead of controlling the game, they stop dictating outcomes. They start surviving them. Every NFL season has games that look normal on the surface, but expose everything underneath. For the Packers, those moments are becoming more frequent. A lead that should be safe disappears. A defensive stop turns into a momentum shift. A drive that looks promising ends in confusion, and each time it happens, the same feeling grows. We've seen this before. That's how doubt spreads in a locker room. Not through one big failure, but through repeated almost moments. Almost wins. Almost stops. Almost execution. And almost is the most dangerous word in football. When execution drops, emotion rises. And emotion is unpredictable. Some players start pressing harder, some start shutting down, some start forcing plays that aren't there, and suddenly the game stops being structured football. It becomes survival football. Green Bay is starting to show flashes of that shift. Not constantly, but enough to notice. Enough to worry. Because when emotion leads a team, mistakes multiply. And leadership gets tested. But the biggest issue in Green Bay isn't just what's happening on the field. It's what hasn't been revealed yet. Because behind closed doors, there are conversations happening that could reshape this entire roster. Decisions about futures, decisions about contracts, and decisions about who stays when everything resets. And the truth is, not everyone is part of what comes next. Something is happening in Green Bay, and it's not just about football anymore. It's about decisions. Cold decisions, the kind that don't care about legacy or emotion or loyalty. Because when a franchise starts questioning its own roster, the countdown to change has already begun. Every NFL team reaches a point where emotion has to be removed from the equation. And for the Packers, that moment feels like it's arriving faster than expected. There's a quiet shift happening behind the scenes. Contracts are being reevaluated. Long-term value is being prioritized over reputation. Future planning is starting to outweigh present comfort. And in that environment, no name is fully safe. Not veterans, not role players, not even the core pieces fans assume are untouchable. Because the question is no longer, how good are we right now? It's becoming, who actually fits what comes next? And that question changes everything. In Green Bay, every era eventually comes back to one position. The quarterback, the center of everything, the standard of everything, and the burden of everything. Because when a team is unstable, the QB doesn't just play football. He carries the identity of the franchise. Right now, that pressure feels heavier than ever. Every drive is analyzed. Every mistake is magnified. Every success is compared to expectation instead of progress. And that creates a dangerous cycle. Play it safe critics say no aggression. Play aggressive critics say risk-taking mistakes. Stay balanced results still feel inconsistent. And when nothing feels like the right answer, confidence starts to erode quietly. Not dramatically, but steadily. Once a team enters uncertainty, the outside noise gets louder. And in Green Bay right now, that noise is impossible to ignore. Trade speculation, contract uncertainty, future planning debates. Even if nothing is confirmed publicly, players feel it. Coaches feel it. Everyone feels it. And when that happens, something subtle changes. Players stop thinking only about the team and start thinking about their role in the future. That shift affects effort, timing, trust, even communication on the field. Because football is not just physical, it's psychological. And uncertainty spreads faster than any playbook can fix. The most dangerous part of a struggling season isn't losing, it's misunderstanding. When players stop anticipating each other, when instincts get replaced by hesitation, when hesitation replaces trust, everything slows down. And in the NFL, slowing down means losing. Green Bay is starting to show flashes of that slowdown. Not constant, but noticeable enough to raise concern. Because great teams don't hesitate. They react, they trust, they execute. Right now, that rhythm feels inconsistent. And now the situation is reaching a critical point. Because inside the building, the next phase is already being discussed. Not rumors, not speculation, real internal conversations about what this roster will look like when everything resets. Some players won't be part of it. Some decisions will shock fans. And one move in particular could signal that the Packers era everyone knows is officially over. Every NFL era doesn't end with a warning. It ends with a decision. One moment, one move, one call that changes everything. And in Green Bay, that moment is no longer coming. It's already here. When a franchise reaches this stage, everything feels quieter. Not because nothing is happening, but because too much is happening at once. Behind closed doors, the Packers are now in full evaluation mode. Who stays, who goes who can be built around who no longer fits the direction, and once that process starts, there is no going back. Because now every player is being viewed through a different lens, not performance alone, but future value. And that's when the emotional side of football disappears and the business side takes over. Every franchise has one moment that defines a transition. And for Green Bay, that moment comes through a decision that shakes the entire locker room, a shift in direction, a signal that the old structure is no longer guaranteed. Whether it's a roster move, a coaching adjustment, or a bold front office pivot, the message is the same. Feel it immediately. Because nothing spreads faster in a locker room than uncertainty disguised as change. Some react with motivation, some with frustration, some start questioning where they stand. And once that question enters the room, everything becomes unstable. On the field, it starts to show. Not in one collapse, but in fragments. A missed assignment here, a misread there. A half-second hesitation that changes everything. And suddenly, the Packers don't look like a team that's just struggling. They look like a team carrying too much internal weight. Because when a locker room is uncertain, players stop playing instinctively. They start overthinking. And overthinking kills momentum. Even the sidelines change. Less energy, more confusion, more silence.